the mic. I'm going to introduce a third question, gentlemen, and we'll take it in this sequence. So starting with Stephen Chris from BASF, because you've all explained a variety of products and you've said the potential, but also the need, as you said, to manage expectations and the situation we are in today. My question then, supplementary to what you've said already, is timetable. The regulations which remove our ability to use antibiotics in farm feed production seem to be coming very fast. Are we in a position to respond with nutritional health management technologies as fast as the regulations would want us to do? So, Stephen, could I ask you just on timetable, how fast can this transition to nutritional health products happen?
Peter, in this modern day of technology and information, our consumers are becoming very well informed. And naturally, they'll put pressure upwards into the value chain. And of course, the retailers will pick up those trends and push them into the market. That in turn puts pressure on us to come up with products that can satisfy the needs of our producers. If you look at the current situation in Europe with etoxyquin, is a good example where they will ban etoxyquin in feeds. This is it's going to put pressure on us to produce products without etoxyquin. To answer the question regarding the regulatory situation, it's so various, it's so different in various countries across the globe. And especially here in Asia, you have such different levels of control, and they keep changing. And this is the confusion, and makes it very difficult to predict something like this, because it will be a very different answer depending on which country you're speaking of.
Thank you. Dr. Petri, Alfred Petri.
Yeah, timetable prediction, as always, difficult, because it will depend on a lot of factors, specifically on the willingness also of the feed industry to pick it up. We have to understand that this is a business with low margins, no? And that contributes quite a bit to the reluctance of this feed industry, for which I personally have worked 15 years before I joined Degussa by that time. There is a strong pressure to keep cost low, no? And the solutions about we are talking here are to a certain extent, at least at first hand, increasing diet costs to some extent. And it will be very important that we get to mechanisms that these increased costs can be in a way forwarded to the final consumer who asks for that. No? We all agree that consumer to a certain asks for that. And it is all our task now to also tell them, look, there will be some more expenses connected to that, so please pay a little bit more. And then it will happen quite quickly, actually. That is a bit a point where feed industry is very much in squeeze. No? On the one hand, they get pressure, that's always easy to put pressure. On the other hand, that is not always the solution to put pressure on one part of the industry, which is now obliged to do something different without showing the way forward. How can that move? In case everybody has to move, in case we get regulations as we received them in Europe by that time, with certain restrictions on the products that can be used and certain other measures around crude protein and such things, that helped a lot, because then we basically came to new standards in feed production, and there was no, let's say, difference in the competitiveness created between the companies due to such measures.
Thank you, Dr. Petri. Mark Ginnemore from Biomin, you've already mentioned to us we need to manage expectations. Markets need to be ready. Are we ready for the regulations which stop our use of antibiotics?
I think the answer is yes, we are ready, but are we ready enough just to make sure that we cope with the fast speed environment we are in here? Yes, regulation is definitely something we have to deal every day, and we see as well that in our organization, the regulatory affairs are taking more and more responsibility and as well importance. On one side, of course, it's positive because higher regulation means, of course, higher standards and better quality. So this is something that we are all aiming at. But of course, on the other side, as said earlier, in a way, this extends or prolong the time to market, and this could be as well some limitation for us just to cope with the needs of the market. I agree as well with what was said earlier, in a way that we see our responsibility as players in the industry to educate, to support the major actors on the market, and this goes through a lot of investment in R&D to come up with solutions. I heard about earlier the proven mode of action, and this is with investing in all this technology which is called omics, where we can really show on one side that the product is working, but the next step is as well why and how the product is working, and this is something that we contribute as well to increase the awareness in feed additives, and hopefully as well help to bypass the challenge that we may face because of stricter regulation. Yeah.
Thank you, Marc. Francois Pellet from Addicio. I'm very encouraged by your remarks that the less result of using AGPs these days means that the gap is narrower for us to fill. So in that way, I feel the time is close that we can replace these antibiotics. Is that true? Particularly your view is of the Asia-Pacific market. Could we talk about, are we ready in that market? Francois?
Yeah, this is true that we are surprised to see how quickly the regulation is changing. We were not expecting so many countries in Asia suddenly to announce a ban of AGP. But I think I'm confident that we can close this gap and that we are ready. There's good product available already. And we can also build on the experience of Europe, but also experience of Korea, experience of Thailand. Thai people are producing without AGP or with very limited amount of antibiotic for 10 years. So they invested in their farms, closed house. They are very picky on the quality of the raw material. We know very well the link between dysbiosis and raw material quality of the protein, digestibility of the protein, anti-nutritional factor. So there's many things that we can do already and that have been done and have been proven to be effective. Not only feed additive, but also farming, farm management, farm practice, and formulation of the feed. Also, what makes me confident is that we are investing heavily in research, and compared to 10 years ago, I think we are much more ready because there's more product available. We have new technologies also to understand the mode of action of the product. We were mentioning omics recently. Now we are able to understand how the product is working at a cellular level, at gene level. So I'm confident that with technology and also with a different mindset in terms of formulation of the feed, in terms of farm management, we can close the gap.
Thank you, Francois. Mike Gould, would you say we are ready? Would you say that the timetable of expectation to replace antibiotics, we have something in place which we can use?
Yes, Peter, thank you. Yeah, as we have talked about, I do believe that a lot of this reduction in antibiotic use is being consumer-driven as well as regulatory-driven. And I think we are ready. And I think that we have the ability to introduce those natural health products to help us with that transition. You know, one thing that we've talked about is the value. It's identifying through that channel where the value is extracted. And at that point, there will be value that's added that can be then compensated for. As we've talked, you know, our industry is very cost sensitive. But I also believe as we look at these natural health products that help stimulate the immune system, help improve the health of the animal, help improve the productivity of the animal, that there are production benefits that come with that that help lessen that gap of that cost. In fact, many of those nutritional health products can pay for themselves where they're eliminating or reducing the use of antibiotics, providing that consumer demand, while still yet providing not an economical increase or a cost increase to that producer or the channel. So I think that we are ready, and we do have technologies that are available to be able to provide those type of performances. I think some of the things that hold our timeline back are, again, the regulations to be able to market that and to talk about that and to be able to help educate the producers and the consumers on what technologies can be used. And I think part of that limit of those regulations also comes down to the fact that we need as an industry to be able to provide scientific data to help support those claims and those needs. That we need to really work, and I do believe that it's a combination of things and not one silver bullet, as we've talked to several times. And we need to really look more as an industry collectively of what are those solutions, rather than just trying to move our own businesses forward. I believe the time is ready, and I believe that the technologies are out there. It's really finding how to implement those effectively, as well as the improved farm management side.
Thank you. Art Matabora from DuPont. On the assumption, Art, that time is not on our side, that the regulations will stop us using AGPs and also antibiotics in other ways possibly, are we ready, is the question, with nutritional health products? Are we ready to fill that gap?
Well, first on the timeline, I think the timeline is not only being pushed by regulations that are being brought in place. Consumer demands is very important, and also the globalization of the industry. You see much more flow of animal protein across the globe, which means that even in non-regulated areas, producers need to fulfill those global demands on AGP-free. Are we ready? I think we as feed additive suppliers, we made great progress over the last number of years. Also understanding the mode of action of products, seeing synergies between various ingredients. And it is now working with the full supply chain on getting those solutions at the end to the farms. So working with the feed compounders, bringing that knowledge along the chain. And make sure that we can bring the value of our products down to the final users of our products. We are working hard, and we see areas where it has been successful, both in developed countries, but also in lesser developed countries. So yes, I think we have all the tools in place to work with the value chain to bring those new solutions into the market.
Thank you very much.